With Dipsy's sexy audio stories, you can indulge in your blooming desires, newfound passions, and the thrill of taking risks. Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/cult. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to dipseastories.com/cult.
Thank you to our sponsor, Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you'll have access to real stylists who will work with you to create a wardrobe that is tailored just for you. Try Stitch Fix today at stitchfix.com/cult, and you'll get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/cult for 25% off today. stitchfix.com/cult.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/cult today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/cult.
The views expressed on this episode, as with all episodes of Sounds Like a Cult, are solely host opinions and quoted allegations.
The content here should not be taken as indisputable facts. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Would you rather have to live in a TikTok social house for the rest of your life or never be able to use the internet ever again?
Ooh,
That's a tough one.
Okay, so if I live in the TikTok house, do I have to be dancing, or can I just live there?
That's a good question.
The contract was not specific, so interpret it as you may.
Okay.
This is Sounds Like a Cult, a show about the modern-day cults we all follow. I'm Amanda Montell, author of the book Cultish: The Language of Fanaticism.
I'm Issa Medina. I'm a stand-up comedian, and you can catch my tour dates on my Instagram. Every week on our show, we discuss a different fanatical fringe group from the cultural zeitgeist, from corporate America to Coachella, to try and answer the big question.
This group sounds like a cult, but is it really?
And if so, which cult category does it fall into? Live your life, watch your back, or get the fuck out? For our new listeners,
A live your life level cult is like a baby cult. Definitely fanatical, but mostly harmless.
a watch your back level cult is borderline dangerous, checks off some of the culty boxes, but isn't totally destructive.
And then we have a get the fuck out level cult, which is like QAnon level Manson vibes, aka run for your life. After all, what classifies a cult is up to interpretation.
Today we are talking about the quintessential representation of what a cult in social media age looks like, and it sounds like, and it feels like, and it embodies your brain, and it takes over your brain, and then it controls your sleeping patterns, and then it doesn't let you go into REM sleep. We're talking about the cult of TikTok. Social houses, though, because that's next level.
It is. It's next level. It really sounds like a fucking episode of Black Mirror. Get this. A bunch of 18 to 22-year-old kids sacrifice their futures, sign their incomes away for the chance to move into a #sponsored Southern California mansion and dedicate every waking moment of their life to the pursuit of online virality. Hello? It sounds like a cult.
It sounds like a bunch of documentaries are going to be made like 20 years from now. But they're all going to be, unfortunately, vertical because all of the found footage is going to be from fucking TikTok.
I know. They're just going to be like 30-second documentaries because that's where our attention spans will have devolved. God damn it.
We always get suggested to do like TikTok in general, but we kind of felt like TikTok houses had more to look into because it's physical and in person. And I feel like if we did TikTok, it's kind of a little on the nose.
Well, and it's also so broad. I mean, it would be like someone requesting we do the cult of Christianity. It's like, where to begin? We have to start with a subculture that is actually tackleable within the space of 45 minutes. But, you know, TikTok social houses are one of those everyday cults that really exploded during the pandemic. And obviously the pandemic and all of the loneliness and the uncertainty really lent itself to cultishness. So on one side of the spectrum, you had QAnoners and MAGA and, you know, people freaking out.
I like the way you said MAGA. It sounded like it sounded very like couture. You were like, on one side of the spectrum, you have MAGA. And it's like, okay, Prada.
It's like Gucci, Dolce, and Gabbana, and MAGA. never said it out loud. I've only ever read it. MAGA. I never said it out loud. I never said it out loud.
I like it. I like
hate that for me. Okay. Well, that's why clearly it's not a group that I interact with all that much because I don't even know how to fucking pronounce it.
Yeah, but it's funny.
But yeah, sorry, MAGA, however. But yeah, so on one end you have, the right-wing conspiracy theorists, and then you also have the side of things where there are sort of new agey essential oils girlies and MLM mommies who are trying to reclaim some agency of their health and of their finances during the pandemic by saying doTERRA can save you from the pandemic in many ways. And then with the younger generation, you have getting recruited to become a more than full-time TikToker, glamorous but housebound, dancing your way through the apocalypse. And that is the other kind of cult that emerged in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, these are younger Gen Zers. They're not like me, like I am Gen Z, but like I'm not 17.
You're cuspy. You're cuspy. Let us not forget.
I'm a cusp. But they are actually children, and that is such a ripe age for someone to get pulled into a cult. And at a pivotal time in your life when like you could be choosing to like start a career or go to college, find who you are, you're instead going into this house with one manager lady or man or person telling you how to spend your time, how you make your money, and then being deeply influenced by every other 17-year-old around you. That's like how people stay in cults for the rest of their lives. They get infiltrated early on.
Totally. And I think it's easy to dismiss them as some sort of teen trend. It's so innocuous. It's adolescent. They'll grow out of it. But there's a lot of money at stake. And to your point, these are really formative years. And I think when you are coerced to believe that your value lies in your virality, that can probably affect how you value yourself and how you value others for the rest of your life. And even if one day you pursue another career path, I think that mentality will kind of be baked into your perception of the world forever. And that's culty and scary when you think about it. We don't know how things will turn out for TikTokers of today.
I've said this before on the podcast, but I haven't said it in a while. I also think it's a lot easier to control people who are like controlled by social media. So the fact that like these influencers are so under the influence of like the algorithm and on their phones at all times and kind of brainwashed in a way, they can then be controlled by not just their TikTok house mom, but their larger influences in life.
Yeah, the system in general. I think if nothing else, they are some of the most distracted people in our culture right now. And a main cult tactic is to distract the living shit out of their followers so that you can very cleverly and surreptitiously influence them to behave in ways they wouldn't before. I also can't help but notice the optics of these TikTok houses. When you gather a bunch of young, starry-eyed people who are seeking something larger than life, like fame, when you gather them up in a mansion in Los Angeles or Orange County or whatever, and you tell them they can't really leave, not in so many words, but that is the implication because they always have to be dedicating their time to the cult. It literally looks like Heaven's Gate. That's what Heaven's Gate was. It was a bunch of people in a San Diego mansion who thought that they were on the path to the kingdom of heaven. This is that for the 21st century.
Yeah, and they all think the kingdom of heaven is David Dobrik. And that man is not happy, I don't think.
Bro, what has become of the generation? But also, I don't want to be sensationalist and alarmist about it. Like, maybe it's fine. That's what we're here to figure out. Are these TikTok houses a live your life, a watch your back, or a get the fuck out?
And we have a very special guest joining us to analyze how culty and scammy these groups can get. We are so excited that she was available to come on our podcast. Please welcome the host of the Scam Goddess podcast, our girlie, Lacey Mosley. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners and describe your relationship to cults?
What's up, y'all? My name is Lacey Mosley, and my relationship to cults is very close. I joined a cult when I started doing improv, which is a cult. Shout out to UCB. And you pay to play, you get in there and you make friends and you never leave and you get entrenched in the drama and it becomes your whole world. I love a good cult and a good scam.
Yes, ma'am. What do you personally think that cults and scams have in common, and how are they different?
Well, I would say that a cult falls under the umbrella of a scam. And the difference is that this type of scam is in it for the long haul. Like, you know, if you do like a, hey, I don't have my wallet, like give me some money for the train type scam, that's a quick, like, you know, exchange
Quickie,
of cash,
in and
right?
out.
In and out. And then you leave that person alone forever. Or maybe you see them again randomly, you don't remember, and you try to run it again, you know? But then a cult is like you want to ingratiate people into this belief, into this society, into this friendship. It's like, hey, y'all, it starts with like a little hangout. Let's play volleyball. Let's do a hike. Or maybe it's a charity event. Like, let's do charity for, you know, less fortunate. And then why don't you come on down to our church later? We're going to be fixing the roof. And then before you know it, you're giving all your money to these people, and these are your only friends because they isolate you. They keep you up really late at night, which is a great way to brainwash people. And then if you leave the cult, it's like, well, then if I leave the cult, I don't have no friends or no family because I've been isolated and this is all that I have.
This actually does connect to the topic at hand because we are ultimately talking about young people who will go to the ends of the earth to achieve some level of fame, which is a type of enlightenment in this culture. We are talking about TikTok social houses and how they are very much like a modern day cult.
If you don't know what a TikTok social house is, according to a capwing.com blog post by Grace Windheim, TikTok houses are literal houses, often mansions, where primarily Gen Z TikTok influencers live together and create videos for social media platforms.
Yes.
So the members are very young. They're usually 18 to 22. They might be recruited by a manager or other existing members of the house. They might and usually do skip college to join the TikTok house. So it's like, it's these young people from like middle America mostly who like popped off on social media while they were home with their parents. And then they're like, oh, I want to make this a full-time job.
And there are leaders who are there to take advantage. I want to know from you, Lacey, what was your first impression of TikTok social houses when you first heard of them? And did they seem culty to you off the bat?
Yeah, hype houses is how I've known them. And they are culty for sure. It's like, let's get a bunch of people at a house who, like a mansion, you know, it's like a really nice house. There's a pool, there's many different bedrooms. They're all packed in there and their whole sole job to churn out content all day long. And yes, that's a cult. Like anywhere where you live, but it's also your job is a cult. Like, I don't want to move into my job. Like, I need to have a home outside of my job. How we sleeping at work? That's weird. Like,
literally describing work from home, though. Oh, my God. It's interesting. I think boundaries are a part of what separates a live your life from a watch your back, from a get the fuck out level cult. And, you know, when you work from home, your home is your office, and there are a few boundaries there. But when you're in a TikTok house rather than your own home, maybe you have even fewer boundaries.
And they're also recording every aspect of their life, but it's not like a reality show where they have cameramen recording it or something like that. They have to record each other and themselves. And so like even when they're cooking eggs for breakfast, they have to pretend it's like a bit. That's so weird to me.
I mean, it's exhausting.
And it really sort of robs you of your ability to live in the present or even figure out who you are because you're just optimizing for virality. So there is this great Vice mini documentary about this whole topic called These Kids Are Skipping College to Be TikTok Famous. We got a lot of our info from this episode from that. So the Vice documentary stated even their real life social engagements are for the benefit of social media. So these teens spend their days constantly collabing with each other in the hype houses and making videos. And because, to your point, they all live and work in this house, they're motivated to turn every little life moment into a viral moment, from brushing your teeth to going on dates. And it makes it really difficult to learn, you know, what your true likes and dislikes are.
Yeah, I mean, it can kind of lead to an artificial, like, uncanny existence. Like, it can affect their ability to connect with people in real life. And it often does. I mean, like, I've interacted with plenty of TikTok folks. And
Same.
I don't know, dude, going to a TikTok party is kind of awkward. It's not like a normal party.
No, because the whole point is to get content. So you're just watching a lot of people film themselves or film each other or do dances or create something that feels fun and inviting. And you're not actually living the experience because it's all about getting the content. Like, that's it. And it's really bizarre because they'll be like, these events will be fun. They'll have like drinks and food and all this stuff, but nobody's there for that. They're there to like get the shot off and get the content. And it's interesting to me too, because as a Black creator, there's a lot of theft on TikTok when it comes to us. Like, I know you'll probably know about like when the Renegade happened, that dance move, right?
Absolutely.
Which was created by a Black girl. And then TikTok, everyone's gonna like stitch or, you know, recreate the dance themselves. Like, however, when so many Black TikTokers are creating things that are popular and then it's being stolen by skinny white women, and then they profit off of it.
On late night.
They go on Jimmy Kimmel to teach the Black girls dance, and they get to perform at the Lakers game to teach the Black girls dance. But what did the Black girl get? She didn't get any money. She didn't get any clout. And I think sometimes people get exhausted with the whole like appropriation or theft. And it's like, listen, if you go to the Bahamas as a white girl and you let the Bahamians braid your hair and put some puka shells in it, live your life, queen. Get your puka shell braids off, okay? But live your life. I have nothing against that. I do have something against when Black creators make things and then you steal it and then you get money and you get clout.
It's like when they build a whole career off of it.
Yeah.
When they build a whole, dare I say, cult based on stolen property.
The Addison Rays, you know, like they can
right.
dance well and they're cute, skinny white women, but they get to be pushed to the top. They get to make the money. They get to work with the Kardashians. Meanwhile, they stole other shit from Black girls who are not getting nearly as much traction. So for me, it's just about the money. Like, I don't give a shit if you do the same dance as me. I have viral TikTok sounds, and it's kind of weird hearing people use my voice, but at the same time, I'm like, I got paid. So
For sure.
Something that's really culty about it is that these original videos were made by Black creators and then stolen by white creators to then create the illusion that you can make money off of TikTok, because only like 2 to 3 skinny white women were picked to then like project to the front of TikTok fandom, right? Mm-hmm. And then that, like a cult, brings in more creators of all backgrounds thinking, I can do that too. And so more creators of all backgrounds join the platform thinking like, oh, I can get to that level too. And it's like, no, not even anymore. It depends what you look like, but it also depends when you joined the platform, because some people like joined it when it was like depths of the pandemic, and now the whole idea is like anyone can go viral. And it's like, no, they can't, bitch.
No, they can't.
They change the algorithm every 5 minutes.
It's such a lie.
And also, I don't understand why regular people want to go viral. It's very bizarre.
Me neither.
Like, I don't want to say regular in this kind of, that feels like I'm saying it in a classist way, but I mean, like, if you a nurse, yes, do your nurse job. Why are you on TikTok talking shit about people who are, you know, having babies and now you fired from Emory Hospital? Like, bitch, why are you wearing your scrubs and your name tag trying to do a TikTok dance in front of the babies in the NICU? Like, what are you doing?
Why are you dancing?
Like, I'm in a coma. I'm in a coma, and you over here doing the sway. Like, what? Why?
I know, and I really think that like TikTok has played a role in fucking with our sense of like what's valuable in this culture. Pixar didn't happen. It's very uncanny.
Also, I don't think people understand fame. You might have a viral video and people click and look at it, but people's attention spans are so short. I have been a series regular on 4 television shows. I'm in movies. I have all this shit coming out. I'm still not famous. So why do you think that your weird little video is gonna like make you a movie star? Like, it's not. And like creating that kind of content is hard work, because you have to constantly be churning it out. And people don't realize that because it looks so easy when they're seeing the final product.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great point, because I think social media has changed fame in general, because like there are people online who will have like 5 million followers, and it's like, who the fuck? Who are you?
Who are you?
You know, who literally are you? If I saw you walking down the street, I would not know. And that also like changes the way people think of themselves. I feel like it's created a really like narcissistic culture, because like almost everyone is an influencer. in a way. I don't think people are addicted to the idea of fame. I think people are addicted to like notifications and attention because like I noticed myself, like I recently moved in alone. And so like, I don't have anyone to like chit chat with. And sometimes my friends don't answer my FaceTime calls. And so I'll post on Instagram.
We're looking at you, Amanda.
Dude,
pick up the FaceTime calls.
Listen, I'm responsive. Right?
Amanda is very responsive, but it's like I'll post on social media literally when I'm feeling lonely just because I need like the reciprocity of some type of attention, which is in the form of notifications.
And it's like dopamine, like those comments, those likes. You feel like self-actualized and you feel that dopamine, that high.
But it doesn't last for long.
So you have to go back and replenish. And it really relates to cults because like what is the ultimate deficiency that cults take advantage of? It is a lack of social connection. It is a lack of a sense of identity. And so when you're feeling extremely lonely, like during the pandemic when TikTok and TikTok social houses really popped off, that was a time when people really tried to fill the void with social media. But it's like a type of hunger that cannot be satiated on the internet. So it's really delivering a false promise in the way that cults often do.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people think that like these TikTok social houses, or as Lacey was saying, a lot of people call them like hype houses. A lot of people think it was a new idea that came around during the pandemic as a way to like get around, you know,
loneliness.
the COVID and being like, well, I also think a lot of TikTok houses during the pandemic happened because they were like, oh, we'll all get tested and then we'll all live together. We'll pod. And so it'll be like safe supposedly, but then they would go to each other's houses and it was like a nightmare. But these social content houses have existed for a while. There was the houses with like Jake Paul's Team 10, and there are these YouTube collaboration houses. The Clout House appeared around 2016. I mean, David Dobrik, I know, like lived with a bunch of his friends when he was first starting out. So the idea was co-opted by popular TikTokers, and it led to the formation of the first two TikTok houses located in LA, which were the Hype House and the Sway House. And those are the two most known houses.
It was sort of something that had already existed on YouTube, and then TikTok just took it to the next level.
And then these houses helped a lot of the biggest TikTokers, you know, pop off on the internet. Like we mentioned Addison Rae, Charli D'Amelio, Dixie D'Amelio, Noah Beck, Chase Hudson. And these kids are now, they have their own reality TV shows.
Yes.
They are starring in movies. They are starting production companies.
They're getting picture deals, like Netflix picture deals.
So it's very lucrative, but again, like Lacey mentioned, it's like all of the people we just named are white who stole from Black creators.
And then there was a time where the Black creators kind of like got really fed up with being stolen from, and they were doing protests, I guess, or like a strike almost. So like if a hot new song came out, like I remember there was Megan Thee Stallion had Thought Shit come out, and it was like hands on my knees doing things on my thought shit, right? So all the Black creators decided, which sucks because like I love Meg, so like I wish they would have hyped Meg, but I understood that they were like, whatever the hot new song is, it's a no, and so they didn't know what it was gonna be. So when Thought Shit came out, they did not do any dances, right? So then all the white creators were doing dances, and it's so funny because the song literally says hands on my knees. And all of the TikToks were them like flailing their hands in the air and like looking just so sad. And they're like, it's in the lyrics, y'all. Like y'all could have figured this out.
But I think I remember when that was happening because I was like, why are these dances so bad?
And this was like August 2021. And this is kind of when Triller stepped in for Black creators and was like, hey, y'all come to our hype house and we're going to actually pay you, Black people, and we're going to do right by you. And then you know how that's going to go. The payments weren't being paid, and like they had such a demand for content output. One of the creators who went to this like Black Triller hype house had a death in the family, and because they were like, well, you still have to put out content, like you're gonna have to bank some content or something while you go to this funeral because we need these posts.
Jesus.
And that to me, I was like, damn, what y'all want him to be dancing next to the casket? Like, what y'all want? Like,
for real, it's raw because it has become so lucrative, and these brands have noticed how profitable these TikTok houses in particular can be. And we'll talk about how like the finances are set up. They don't care about the humanity. Even at a corporation, like if you're working at Amazon, if your family member dies, you're still getting that time off. In a TikTok house, it's so fringe. The industry is so new. You're not getting those rights.
There's no unions.
No.
And the person I'm talking about is Niccolo Caglianatali. If you want to look him up, he's 20 years old, but his cousin died. And they were like, so sorry, but you still need to get back to work, because there's no unions. There's no laws. They had all these people, and these people tried to escape TikTok to do Triller, and they had like rules about not doing TikTok or how much you could do on TikTok. And like, it was still bad. It was awful. They weren't paying them.
Have you heard of Dipsea? If you've listened to this podcast, you probably have, because we're obsessed with it. They have all types of oral pleasures to explore. That's oral, like your ears, not what you were thinking of, but actually they do have that too, if that's what you're into.
It is everything you want and more. We love Dipsea here at this podcast. I actively use it. I get sad when I can't log in because my phone glitches, and I use it on the plane, and that's not what you're thinking. I like their meditation. It helps me relax. Their breathing and exercises are very, very helpful.
Okay, yeah, so we should explain. Dipsea is this app, and it's got hundreds of short, sexy audio stories designed by women for women, but it also has these wellness sessions and sleep sessions with immersive soundscapes. So it's got everything you could ever want to wind down.
For listeners of the show, Dipsea is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/cult. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to dipseastories.com/cult. dipseastories.com/cult. Get the star treatment with your own personal stylist. With Stitch Fix, you'll have access to real stylists who will work with you to create a wardrobe that is tailored just for you. I am so happy that Stitch Fix is sponsoring this podcast because I have been looking for a wardrobe/stylist fix for so long. Stitch Fix is the best way to discover new styles and brands just for you.
You can sort of think of Stitch Fix as your style partner. There's a real stylist on the other end who will learn about your tastes and collaborate with you to find looks that you'll love. I actually bought a Stitch Fix subscription for my boyfriend Casey. It was always so much fun to receive our box because it was like a fashion show moment. And then he would give really, really specific feedback to the stylist. Like, I'm interested in a little bit funkier styles or flashier patterns. And they were so good at taking that feedback. Just keep what you love and send back the rest. Plus, shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free.
There's no subscription required. Simply order a refresh as needed or set it and forget it with regular seasonal fixes. You are in control.
Try Stitch Fix today at stitchfix.com/cult and you'll get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/cult for 25% off today.
stitchfix.com/cult.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy service. I used it during the pandemic. I connected with a licensed therapist who was able to chat with and phone call with during that incredibly trying time when I was practically having a nervous breakdown. And it really tided me over when I couldn't see my in-person therapist.
Something I really like about BetterHelp is that it's really convenient and flexible. I always say therapy is kind of like dating. Like, you want to find someone that is right for you, and BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on this journey of self-discovery. And if you don't vibe with one, you can always try another because they have a large roster of licensed therapists. And I think it's a great way to get started and dip your toes in therapy.
Yeah, and everybody knows that breaking up with someone over the phone is easier than doing it in person. So you can do that with BetterHelp and switch your therapist at any time for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/cult today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/cult. I want to talk a little bit more specifically about how these TikTok houses, hype houses, tomato, Kleenex tissue, whatever you want to call them, are structured in terms of the power and the finances. So according to this Vice documentary, these hype houses often have like a den mother type who might be in middle age. They recruit and sign the members to their agency. They're the ones who move them into these houses, and they take giant cuts of their earnings. These managers may take up to 50% of earnings, which is
50?
way above 50, dude.
50%.
50.
Isn't that crazy?
I
so
have
far
managers
above
and
industry
agents.
standard.
10% is the standard, and for your
Or
lawyer,
15.
it's 5.
Yeah. Yes. One of these House members in the Vice documentary was fully aware of the scammery. And this TikTok House member told Vice they're suckering these kids who come from Nebraska or Ohio. They recognize it's bad, but they don't know what they can do about it, right? Because so much money is at stake.
And a lot of these kids fall into the trap of what we call the cult of Hollywood, which is they're super young and their managers or the people who reel them into the like new group have them sign contracts that they don't understand. And so then they are legally like under obligation to do something that they didn't know they signed up for, which is like super culty and scammy. Something that's kind of crazy about these houses is the way that they work is that the manager or like the quote unquote like adult that puts the house together, they invest in the house. So they put in like $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 down payment. And then they have these TikTokers sign a contract that they're going to like pay it back, but there's no oversight whatsoever. And so then these kids are pretty much locked into these contracts that they didn't really understand what they were getting themselves into. And they have to make that money back plus profits in order to make any money at all.
Yeah, which is honestly, I would call that a 360 deal. Like in the music industry where you get a 360 deal and they're like, we're going to pay for your touring and your outfits and your stylists. And then the music that you make and the touring that you do will then supplement that. And once you've made that money back, you'll actually start to make money. And it's the worst deal in the fucking world.
Absolutely.
And they know that young people, because think about it, there's no financial literacy when you are in high school.
Nope.
Like, which is so wild to me. Like, why do I need to know how to use a protractor? Why do I need to know the Pythagorean theorem? But I don't know how to pay my taxes. I can tell you everything about Magellan, but I can't tell you shit about contract negotiation. And then immediately when you leave high school, you immediately go into some type of contract. So if you decide not to go to college, maybe you do a trade school, that's less shady. But if you decide to go to college, you're going in, signing up for loans that you don't understand, like putting yourself in debt that you'll never realize how horrible it is until you get out of college. Or you're going to a TikTok house where you signing away that you're going to pay the rent on a mansion and you can't leave.
That is fucking right. No, that is so true. And I want to talk about how it connects to people who join more classic cults like the Mansons or Jonestown or what have you, because we have this idea that those people are desperate. But they're not desperate. They have big dreams. That's what makes you vulnerable. They're vulnerable because they're young and they don't have financial literacy, to your point, but who among us does because we don't learn it? So the system sets us up to fail. But also the American dream system sets us up to have these giant lofty ambitions and aspirations for our life. So then a new cult-like industry like the TikTok social house comes along and it's like, come here, little boy, little girl. I'm going to show you glamour. I'm going to show you fun. You don't have to work in a cubicle. You get to dance on camera and you like become famous. But then you're literally shackled to this mansion with no clear exit strategy. It is nuts. Because what are you supposed to do afterwards? You forewent college. You have even less education.
These TikTokers don't know they're going to be paying rent on a mansion for the rest of their life. These kids are still, I mean, they signed when they were 18. It's been now 3 years since the pandemic. They're probably like 21. Okay, math. But they're still young. They're still paying off the rent on these houses. Can you just imagine when they're like 45 and like still doing the renegade to like pay rent?
They can't. You
on
can't.
These houses?
It's not sustainable, right?
Well, I think the whole dream is that you would rise to the Addison Rae level and like all your dreams come true, right? Like I think they sell them that dream. So you're signing your life away, but you're thinking you're gonna become a star.
It is funny. It really does mirror the structure of, say, a new age cult from the 70s. Like you think of them as these people who are like down and out, who are like turning to this group because they don't know where else to go. But it's literally just like a cult wants the popular girl in school. Because that's also going to make it attractive for other people.
I think the cults, like, in the past were a little more like downtrodden, lost people that we can, abuse. Whereas I feel like the cults now are like, oh, look at all these sexy people. Oh, like, I want to be
so true.
sexy with them.
Yeah. Something that I found that was really wild when we watched the Vice documentary, which you should watch, anyone listening, if you want to learn more about these TikTok houses, is that when they interviewed these kids, they were literally interviewing them, asking them questions like, do you think you're in a bad position? Do you think you're going to get out of it? How do you think you're going to come out on top? And they all said the same answer. They were like, yeah, I mean, I have big dreams. I want to be a movie star. I want to write a show. Some of them were like, I want to go into real estate. And it's like, what are you actively doing to make that happen? None of them were doing much because they were so treading water with the content of day to day. That's what happens, is like they flood them with day to day activities, like a cult, like a summer camp, where they don't realize that they're busy every second of the day. And so they continue to push and push off their like big dreams.
That's right. Because the person in power has a bottom line, and their bottom line does not involve that person learning how to do real estate.
No.
Yeah.
And it's just like the cult of America. Like, we want to keep poor people busy and spending their money and giving them some sense of happiness, but while stealing everything from them. Like, you can even use Twitter. When Elon took over Twitter, he was saying free speech for all. Everybody go have the free speech. Actually, the free speech is going to cost $8 a month. So if you got $124 a year, then you can have some free speech and a blue check. It's like, how quickly did that shift?
So much cult-like hypocrisy and busy work.
And it all comes back to access to abortion.
Yeah.
You really think
that
about
is actually
it.
so true. You take it to the root.
We just have to stop having babies. They keep women and poor people busy.
There are just so many parasocial relationships going on here, because not only is there a parasocial relationship between the TikToker and their followers, there's a parasocial relationship between the TikToker and the system. It's like the TikToker and the algorithm. It's just this hierarchy that there's no conversation happening. It's just a chain of command.
It does feel like a lot of times, like, well, one, it is a privilege to like have parents who also do have financial literacy. So that's like most of America doesn't. I recently like read a statistic that was like 45% of Americans have $1,000 in their savings account.
According to Bankrate's 2023 annual emergency fund report, 57% of American adults are currently unable to afford a $1,000 emergency expense.
That's wild to me. Like, most people in America don't have financial literacy. So these kids are a lot of times coming from households that are like that. And so it's like they can't go to their parents and get advice either.
Yeah, isn't it like most people are 3 paychecks away from being homeless? I'm going to fact check that. Oh, shit. It's actually 59% of Americans are just 1 paycheck away from being homeless.
Shut the
One
fuck up. No
1 out
wonder
of
we
3
join
Americans.
cults. No wonder
1
we join
paycheck.
cults.
I said 3. 1. There's something about the human existence where I understand this deeply. You're happier when you're busy. Like, you're happier when you have tasks and you have things to do in front of you. And if those tasks are fun or they feel easy or they feel like community, it's so much easier to get sucked into a cult. Like, I've always thought to myself, like, if I wanted to go to the Scientology building and see what L. Ron was up to, like, I might end up mopping that bitch and working there.
It's a really nice building. I followed a pretty girl in there. That's why I went in.
They have beautiful people in there
and
actors and everything. And then the people that they have doing the audits are like little kids, you know, so it feels like less intimidating when you're telling your deepest, darkest secrets to like a 12-year-old who's writing it all down and giving it to the church. But like, my point is that with the hype houses and like Amanda, you saying like they had all these dreams but obviously weren't pursuing them. There's also a type of person who has a dream but doesn't actually want to fulfill it, because sometimes dreams are just like this fantasy that you can like jerk it to and you're like, oh man, like what, like dreams are like that one guy in college that you still talk to every now and then, and if you're in the same city maybe you fuck, but like you're never gonna be with him. You're never gonna be with him.
This might be kind of a cynical take, but maybe in America, deep down, we know that having a big dream is just a kink. And it's like kind of a masochistic one because it might not work out. Like, it's something that I'm gonna like dip my toe into when I'm feeling naughty at night. It's like, but it's not necessarily something that you're going to pursue for real.
I've learned that since moving to LA, like a lot of people who move to LA move here with a dream and then they don't take the steps to accomplish it.
No.
And I'm like, what are you doing to make it happen? And it seems like most people are scared to actually try because they're scared of failure. Yeah. And so that is like a lot of the kids that get recruited into these TikTok houses.
But I think that's the allure, because there are just people in the world who have lofty dreams but don't actually want to get in the mud to get them. And there's nothing wrong with that. You fantasize about it. Maybe you sing in church, but you thought maybe you would be Whitney Houston, but you actually don't want to do Whitney Houston work. I get it. Like, oh, you want to be an actor, but you don't want to enter the most seedy fucking business in the world and be abused and used and worked like a mule. But it's like some people don't actually want the underbelly, the ugly side of the dream. And I've known people like that. I lived with someone who like wanted to be an actor too, and like would always tell me all these lofty things, or tell me how they met someone, or they're gonna help, or da 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 da.
How American is that? And that attitude, that delusion is so American, and it's so the reason why America and cults have this extremely consistent relationship.
Well, it reminds me also a lot of like the American dream of like buying a house. Like everybody wants to own property, but then when you actually get into looking at everything that comes with like owning and buying property, it is so much responsibility, and like sometimes it's easier to rent. It just is, because like you don't have to be the one who's like on the insurance if something happens. You have someone to call to like fix your shit, but it's like everyone has the dream of owning property.
No, but I will say it is interesting that we made our way to a conversation about real estate, because the TikTok house cult is ultimately about real estate. Like, they are moving into a home. And I want to talk about how these homes can screw with these young people's values and empathy in a truly insidious way. I want to talk about a couple examples. So in 2020, deep in the pandemic, there was this one British hype house called Wave House, which made a super creepy announcement video where all the house members unveiled their identities by coming out of a helicopter wearing creepy black masks, which they removed to reveal their faces. And in another announcement video, a member attempted to walk on water like Jesus. And all of the followers were like, what the fuck is going on? Because no one recognized these individual TikTokers. So it was just this massive bluff to manufacture hype based on nothing.
Yeah, it's like throwing money at a problem.
And what's weird is that TikTok house members are not only cult followers in this way, they're also in a sense cult leaders, because they're exchanging their followers' brain chemistry and loneliness for clout and money. And so the power structure is very strange. You know, it's like they're oppressed, but they're also taking advantage of others.
And also living in Hollywood, people will act like their bodies, their physique, like anything about them is natural and hard work and gym work and da 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 da. And they've, you know, they use filters, they use everything to like make themselves look more appealing. But and then that warps everyone's brain, because if you're on TikTok as a normal person and you're looking at these influencers on TikTok and they look so pristine, poreless, so thin, you think like, oh, maybe that's something that's attainable in dieting and working out. And it's like, no, babe, you need to go on Ozempic, and you need a good dermatologist who's going to give you great Botox and lip fillers and Juvederm. Yeah. Like, it's not natural, but they sell it that way. And that also is bad for their followers.
Like the cult doesn't stop with social media and the houses. It continues on to like looks and the way that like people are perceived. And then it gets into regular Americans' brains thinking that like it's that easy.
The tentacles reach so far.
So we want to play a little game with you, Lacey, and it's called Would You Rather? And we give you a couple scenarios that are cult and TikTok house related to see what you would rather do.
Round number 1. Would you rather have to live in a TikTok social house for the rest of your life, or never be able to use the internet ever again?
Ooh. Oh, that's hard.
That's a tough one.
Okay, so if I live in the TikTok house, do I have to be dancing, or can I just live there?
That's a good question.
Oh, that's right. So the contract was not specific, so interpret it as you may.
Okay, so Honestly, I would live in the TikTok house.
Oh,
we're gonna go
cult
to
of
the best
internet.
parties. It's gonna be a big house. If I don't have to do
Yeah.
no dances, like that's good. And I need the internet. I need it.
She needs it.
Yeah, you do need
She's a
it. I was
podcaster.
thinking also maybe it has like a pool house or something. You
Yeah,
could live in a
I
pool
feel like I
house.
could be like the house mother.
Yeah, you're the
and be
den
like,
mother.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Be like, Johnny Three Hands, it's your day to take out the trash. Melissa Booty,
Exactly.
why the dish is not in the dishwasher?
Yes.
You know, like Mr. Beast, sweep the ceiling. Like
And then you're like, give me my 50%, okay?
I'm like, who mowing the lawn? Make that content, but also mow the lawn, but make it content. Mop this shit and get the ring light out so it's content.
You would be a really good social.
You would.
den mother.
You really would.
Would.
I love it. Okay, would you rather only be able to have cult-followed TikTok teens as your podcast guests for the rest of time, or only be able to have conspiracy theorists as your podcast guests for the rest of time?
That's easy. Conspiracy theorists.
Man,
those
good
motherfuckers
answer.
are
Come
funny. Like, come over here with your foil on your head and tell me about the aliens that
Yes.
Joe Biden's son let into America. Like,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah, it's
That
like, who
sounds
killed
so
Princess
fun.
Diana? Tell us.
Exactly.
Oh,
The
conspiracy
queen.
theorists are hilarious.
I know.
TikTokers, not that funny.
No, they can only do what they do for a few seconds and then like some edits. I won't say that all TikTokers are bad because I do enjoy a lot of TikTok. However, I will say that like translating it into like long form entertainment is difficult for a lot of them.
Right. So as a podcaster, you would prefer the conspiracy theorist.
Hell yeah, because they're gonna have stuff
Yeah.
to say. The conspiracy theorist is gonna tell me why I got 5G in my body because I got the vaccine, and that's gonna make me laugh.
Exactly. Okay, would you rather live in a TikTok social house or live in a sorority house?
That's hard. Because I feel like a sorority house is like a bunch of women who come together and sometimes hate each other, and it might be cleaner because there's always someone in the sorority house who has the chore chart on the fridge and they're like, Jenica, you didn't take out the trash. Alpha Pie's coming tonight. They're going to think we're dirty whores. You know, so I
Yeah.
feel like that could be a vibe. Lots of drama. I do love drama when I'm not in it. But then the TikTok house is going to be dirty. And
True.
everybody going to be filming videos all the time, filming.
And you don't want to have to be the mom, you know? Like, you can be the mom
No.
if you are having fun, but you don't want to have to be the person who, like, yells at people to clean.
And like the TikTok house is gonna have very main character energy.
Yes.
Everyone is gonna have main character energy. Whereas if I lived in the sorority house, there's always like two girls who barely got in who I could be like, y'all are my bitches. You do what I say.
It's more like a proper traditional cult in that way. You have
yeah,
the
I'm gonna go with the
archetypes.
sorority house.
Love that. Okay, last would you rather? Would you rather reside on a remote Manson family style ranch where you have to make your own food and clothes and can't communicate with the outside world for the next 6 months? Or live in a TikTok social house for the next year?
Now, when you say Manson, do I have to do murders?
No.
Great question.
Manson
Okay.
style. Manson style.
Manson style. Okay,
Manson
murder
style,
free.
so you could
murder
just
free.
chop some legs off, but no murder.
Interpret it as you may.
I'm gonna go with the TikTok house for a year. Fuck, I look like sewing my own pants. Like, this is not Little House on the Prairie. Like, you want me to go
Yeah.
to the well when I need water? You want me to boil that shit for a bath?
I don't see
Like,
that for
that's
you.
sad.
What about
I
you,
can't
Issa?
do
What
that.
would you do?
I think right now I would probably do the Manson house only because I need a break, you know,
From
from
reality.
reality. Yeah, and it's a good
too.
excuse to get off social media. But if it was for a longer period of time, I think I might have to do the social house because it's like, you know, the having to get your own water thing. I don't want to do that.
No, 6 months is a sabbatical. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is,
Okay.
but I can't. The dexterity in my hands.
I
Very
totally
little.
understand.
Also, air conditioning, underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated.
You want to be sleeping all hot on a bed of hay? That's what I imagine. They was stuffing the beds
Yeah.
with hay.
Yeah. Lacey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. If our listeners want to follow your cult or join your cult, where can they do that?
Please join my cult. It's called the Congregation, capital CON for cons. Scam Goddess Podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast, Scam Goddess Podcast. And if you want to follow me, DIVALACI, Diva Lacey on all platforms to just see mess. Okay? And then Watch the Lopez show on Peacock. I be on there.
Yes. Lopez v.
iCarly
Lopez.
comes out June 1st. And The Outlaws on Netflix from Adam Sandler's company comes out July 7th. So watch me in a bank.
I'm going to watch all those things. I'm already watching Lopez v. Lopez. You're great in that. We love it. We love to see it. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Issa, out of our 3 cult categories, live your life, watch your back, and get the fuck out. What cult category do you think TikTok houses fall into?
I think TikTok houses fall into a get the fuck out because when you are so young, every moment is so precious. And I actually think like every moment in life in general is very precious. And I feel like we are already all so sucked into social media. It's kind of like a way to make time go by faster. Like if I order food on DoorDash, then I am like, oh, 45 minutes till it arrives. And I'll go on Instagram Reels just so that it will go by faster. And that's essentially what these young adults are doing with their entire early 20s. They are getting sucked into this algorithm, sucked into this physical home, and away from like living life and exploring like relationships and hiking and going outdoors and just like living.
I know, they're becoming basically professional killers of time. And I've been thinking about how corrosive it is that we even use that phrase, kill time. Like, how fucked up is it that whenever we have like a spare 5 minutes or a spare hour, we don't say like, oh, what a gift. I want to liven this time. I want to look around me, or I want to try to become more present. Instead, we like log onto our phones. We're like, kill it, kill the time. Like, it's just so violent. And that's what they're pursuing as their profession. They're becoming killers of time. And I think it's frightening.
And that's why I think like it's, you might say like, oh, but what they're doing with killing time is not that violent. But it's like, I think when a cult is a get the fuck out, it's when you do something that you like literally cannot take back and that changes your life forever. And I think with these houses, it's this suction of important moments in your life that like are going to change the trajectory of your life forever. And like you can't take that back.
Yeah, only time will tell what the exit costs of these TikTok houses really are, but they seem higher than you might think. I was like kind of shocked when you said to get the fuck out, but yeah, I think it's at the very least a high level watch your back to borderline cusp GTFO.
Yeah, I still think GTFO, but I agree with a high. Watch your backy.
Well, that is our show.
Thanks so much for listening.
We'll be back with a new cult next week.
But in the meantime,
stay culty,
but not too culty. Sounds Like a Cult was created, hosted, and produced by Issa Medina and Amanda Montell. Our theme music is by Casey Cole.
This episode was edited and mixed by Jordan Moore of The Pod Cabin.
To join our cult, follow us on Instagram at Sounds Like a Cult Pod.
I'm on Instagram at Amanda_Montell, and feel free to check out my books, Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism, and Word Slut, A Feminist Guide to Taking Back the English Language.
And I'm on Instagram at Issa Medina, ISAAMEDINAA, where you can find tickets to my live stand-up comedy shows or tell me where to perform.
We also have a Patreon, and we would appreciate your support there at patreon.com/soundslikeacult. And if you like our show, feel free to give us a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And if you don't like our show, rate other podcasts the way you'd rate us.